Hello, this is Dr. Jacqueline with DTP-Leadership Group. You've tuned in to Hot Topic Bold Talk, the podcast where we dive into everything that matters today. Join me as we explore the hottest trends and pressing issues with conversations that sizzle and perspectives that heat up. This is Hot Topic Bold Talk, since every chat has something cooking. Let's dive in to today's discussion. Hello, this is Hot Topic Bold Talk with Dr. Jacqueline from DTP Leadership Group. And I'm going to be talking to you about understanding legal restrictions on abortion so that you can take a stand for women's reproductive rights. And I will give you some of the serious warnings in this podcast because we've got to get real clear about what's happening here. So this is podcast 81. So let me introduce it by just saying this one sentence. The overturn of Roe versus Wade has had a devastating impact on women's reproductive rights and access to abortion care across the United States. And unfortunately, I lived during the time when there was no availability for abortions and saw all kinds of devastating health issues for women. So I want you to understand the lack of access to abortion care right now and the risk to women's health. In states with abortion bans or severe restrictions, women are being forced to travel long distances or carry pregnancies to term against their will, putting their health and lives at risk. Abortion bans disproportionately harm marginalized communities, including low-income women who have a lot less access due to what's going on now, women of color, and those in rural areas who face greater barriers to accessing care anyway. Now, denying abortion care can have life-threatening consequences, especially for women with high-risk pregnancies or severe fetal abnormalities. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists warns that the abortion bans have led to the higher rates, maternal mortality, and worse healthcare outcomes. So let me give you a very serious example of what's happening in the Supreme Court related to the case about EMTALA, which is the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. Yeah, but need to pay attention because this one is really scary. This case could jeopardize women's health and choice about what happens to their body that is harmful and is being experienced by women in Idaho. Idaho has brought this case to the Supreme Court. Here's some important facts you need to know from Planned Parenthood's newsletter on May 14, 422. Last month, lawyers representing anti-abortion politicians argued before the Supreme Court that Idaho's total abortion ban should apply in hospital emergency rooms, even if it means allowing a pregnant patient to suffer and even die. The case is about the national law called EMTALA, which I've given you before. The law was passed nearly 40 years ago and ensures everyone is provided emergency medical care. The law requires hospitals to give stabilizing care to anyone experiencing an emergency medical condition. When a patient arrives in an emergency room, doctors have to protect their health. The courts, the Congress, the physicians, and hospitals have recognized and followed this law for decades. It is ridiculous what anti-abortionists are doing, and very harmful. The language in the law makes it crystal clear that EMTALA protects patients in every state. Local or state regulations, even abortion bans, can't deny any patient care that is protected by the federal government, since EMTALA is a federal act. After the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and allowed states to ban abortion, the Biden administration issued guidance reminding hospitals that EMTALA protects patients nationwide. Abortion is health care, and federal law protects medical care in emergencies. In the case before the Supreme Court, the state of Idaho wants to demand the power to violate this law and overrule the judgment of doctors who know abortion is sometimes necessary to stabilize a patient in the emergency room. We're getting to the point where it's ridiculous. The doctors know what to do, not these politicians or extremists. So here's what was stated, and it's about this case. At different times, lower courts have protected Idaho's ban from denying emergency abortion care in hospital ERs. But most recently, the Supreme Court allowed Idaho's ban to be enforced even when it prohibits such emergency care as the court considers the case. Meanwhile, the state I live in, Texas, sued the federal government over EMTALA, insisting that patients must be denied emergency abortion across even when facing serious pregnancy complications that threaten their health and lives. It's like they don't want women to live. It's ridiculous. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the same court that has upheld abortion bans and attacks on mifepristone, agreed with Texas. The Supreme Court will now decide whether to allow states to ignore EMTALA, federal protection for pregnant patients, and deny emergency care for those patients who need abortions. And please note, in my previous statement, they're now attacking abortion pills. So this was never going to stop. The U.S. is already in a maternal mortality crisis with a maternal mortality rate higher than any wealthy country in the world. Black and Indigenous communities are hit hardest by this crisis. Black and Indigenous women are more likely to experience serious pregnancy complications and 2 to 3 times more likely than white women to die a pregnancy-related death. Now, face this reality. Trump recommended and pushed through the current members of the Supreme Court that have supported the overturn of Roe versus Wade. Be very clear that Trump's position on abortion is very severe. You need to read The Atlantic, the article written by Rose, which on May 8, 2024 at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is entitled, Trump's Latest Abortion Position is More Radical Than It Sounds. Trump declared he was proud to be the most pro-life president in American history, while distancing himself from actual anti-abortion policies, which he knows are unpopular. Trump is after votes rather than women's health. As a minimum, a second-term administration is likely to reverse the steps that Biden's administration has taken to shore up abortion access. These include instructing hospitals in abortion-banned states they must perform abortions in cases of medical emergency, making it harder for law enforcement to access the medical records of women who travel out of state to receive an abortion, and most significantly, allowing abortion pills to be prescribed without an in-person doctor visit. That's what's happening to protect women and giving them the right to do what is needed for their care. Trump and his followers are going after a nationwide ban of abortion and abortion bills. So stop denying and lying to yourself. Read the Protect Reproductive Rights newsletter from Tuesday, May 14, 2024 at 3:35 p.m. Republicans were never going to stop with just overturning Roe versus Wade. Now Republicans in Louisiana want to criminalize possession of abortion pills, including misoprostol, misoprostol, which is why more than 200 Louisiana doctors and OBGYNs are speaking out against this proposal. According to the doctors, misoprostol is also used to prevent gastrointestinal ulcers and to safely help induce labor in people who are ready to give birth. Misoprostol is also used after someone has a miscarriage when the body does not pass the tissue on its own and to help stop postpartum hemorrhage, one of the leading causes of maternal mortality in the state of Louisiana. It's not just Louisiana either. Republicans in Missouri, Kansas, Texas, and Idaho have all challenged access and the legality of abortion pills. It's not just the fringe of the far right. In March, roughly 80% of the House Republicans embraced a budget proposal that endorsed banning all medication abortions nationwide. So we need to vote for people that are different from the current Republicans that are in office. Now, I want to give you some organizations that fight for reproductive rights. Because if you care about a woman and you're worried about what's going to happen with them, then you need to know about this. The Repro Legal Defense Fund provides legal support for those investigated or arrested for self-managed abortion. The ACLU is actively challenging abortion bans in courts and advocating for reproductive freedom through litigation and legislation. The Center for Reproductive Rights is a leading legal advocacy organization dedicated to advancing reproductive rights globally. Reproductive Freedom for All is a campaign organization for federal legislation to protect abortion rights in the U.S. Medical professionals and organizations, like I've said, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists have spoken out strongly against abortion bans, citing the dangers they pose to women's health and lives, especially in the case of high-risk pregnancies or fetal abnormalities. So, in concluding this podcast, I want to address the legal restrictions on abortion in the United States. We're one of the wealthiest nations. We're having more deaths than anyone worldwide, even we're a wealthy nation. Here's an overview. At least 13 states have implemented near total bans on abortion with limited exceptions like medical emergency, or it depends on the state when it's about rape or incest. Idaho doesn't care. But here's the list: Alabama, Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, West Virginia, Florida, and Wisconsin. Several of the states, like Georgia and Ohio, have banned abortions after around 6 weeks of pregnancy when this happens. And you'll know that there has been some changes in Ohio, but at one point, this is what it was. Around 20 states allow abortion up until a specific point in the pregnancy, typically between 15 and 24 weeks. This includes places like Virginia, Iowa, and then Colorado, Oregon, and Vermont have codified the right to abortion throughout pregnancy based on the woman's choice. Even in states allowing abortion, there are often additional requirements, such as mandatory waiting periods up to 72 hours in some states, mandatory counseling and ultrasound viewing, parental consent laws for minors, restrictions on abortion methods like medication abortion. The legal landscape remains highly dynamic, with several states enacting new restrictions or seeking court challenges to existing laws. Access varies dramatically across the state based on the patchwork of the state laws. If you want to protect women's rights to health, then in November you need to support President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all individuals who are running for office that will fight against the attempts to deny women their rights to reproductive care. In my next podcast, I'm going to give you a list of a lot of people that are running against GOPs to make every effort to take them out of office. That are very supportive of women's health. My list of resources for this podcast are listed in the video and on the description page. Since I did list all of them, I did not list all of them in the podcast. You may want to read more about the disturbing challenges for women to maintain their health, since I'm sure there are many of you that have women that you truly love and respect. There you have it. Another episode of Hot Topic Bold Talk is in the books. We journeyed through today's discussion, uncovering diverse perspectives and shedding light on a very critical matter. A massive thanks to all of you that are my listeners. I really appreciate you, and I'm so glad you're a part of this adventure. Feel free to drop your views in the polls and the Q&A section. It's really important for me to hear from you and know how you feel or what you think about my podcast. Gear up for more intriguing discussions in our next episode. Until then, stay connected, stay engaged, and let's keep those conversations buzzing. Thank you.